Welcome to our podcast on the state of American education in the 21st century. I'm Amira, joined by my co-host Jamal. Today, we'll be diving into some key trends and reforms shaping the future of education in the United States.
Thanks, Amira. To start us off, let's look at how some states are reimagining education. Arizona, for instance, has taken a bold approach by implementing education savings accounts. This allows parents to customize their children's education in unprecedented ways.
That's right, Jamal. Under this system, students can mix and match educational experiences, taking math at a charter school, studying literature at home, and even accessing professional biology labs. It's a far cry from the traditional one-size-fits-all model.
Absolutely. This shift towards personalization is a key trend we're seeing. The focus is moving away from seat time and towards mastery of skills and concepts. It's about competency-based learning, rather than just putting in hours in a classroom.
This ties into another important point, the role of technology in education. Digital learning is one of the 6 categories used in grading states' education policies in the latest education report card. How do you see technology shaping the future of education, Jamal?
Well, Amira, technology is enabling much of this personalization we're discussing. It allows for adaptive learning, where the pace and content can be adjusted to each student's needs. But it's worth noting that the effectiveness of EdTech still largely depends on how it's implemented.
Good point. Now let's talk about some of the challenges facing American education. International comparisons and national proficiency measures suggest U.S. students are falling behind in several areas. What do you think is driving this, Jamal?
It's a complex issue, Amira. One factor is that the traditional education model hasn't kept pace with the changing needs of the 21st century workforce. There's also the perennial debate about funding. While spending has increased over the past 4 decades, outcomes haven't improved proportionally.
That's true. The latest Gallup poll shows 55% of voters are dissatisfied with the American education system. This dissatisfaction seems to be driving support for alternative models like charter schools and private school choice programs.
Exactly. The education report card heavily weights these factors because they represent a shift towards more parent-centered, choice-driven education. But it's important to note that these reforms are happening at the state level, not federally.
Speaking of state-level reforms, the report card grades states across 6 categories: academic standards, charter schools, homeschool regulation burden, private school choice, teacher quality, and digital learning. How do you think this grading system impacts education policy, Jamal?
Well, Amira, it creates a sort of competition between states, encouraging them to improve their policies. But it's also worth considering whether these categories fully capture what makes for good education. For instance, how do we measure the long-term impacts of these policies on students' lives and society as a whole?
That's an excellent question. It reminds me of how the space race in the 1960s drove massive investments in science and technology education. Do you see any parallels between that era and today's education landscape?
Interesting comparison, Amira. While we're not in a space race today, you could argue we're in a global economic race. Countries are competing to produce the most innovative, skilled workforce. This is driving investment in STEM education, much like the space race did.
True, but there's also growing recognition of the importance of skills like critical thinking, creativity, and emotional intelligence. Things that aren't as easily measured by standardized tests.
Absolutely. As we wrap up, what do you think are the key takeaways for our listeners about the future of American education?
I'd say the main trends are personalization, increased choice, and a focus on competency over seat time. But there are still significant challenges to address, particularly in terms of equity and ensuring all students have access to high-quality education.
Well said, Amira. It's clear that education in America is at a crossroads. As we move further into the 21st century, it will be fascinating to see how these reforms play out and what new innovations emerge.
Indeed, Jamal. Thank you all for listening to our discussion on the state of American education. We hope this has given you some food for thought about this crucial issue. Until next time.